Let's go! Batter up! We're taking the afternoon off. It's a beautiful day for a ball game, today. The fans are out to get a ticket or two. From Walla Walla, Washington to Kalamazoo. It's a beautiful day for a home run, but even a triple's okay. We're gonna cheer and boo and raise a hullabaloo at the ball game today.
Hey everybody, it's me, Rick Acosta, the Dodger Card Collector, coming to you with another video. Happy New Year, 2026. I hope your 2026 is better than your 2025. Let's hope for a good year for all of us. I'm not much of a New Year's person. I think, yeah, you know what I did on New Year's Eve? YouTube released Game 7 of the of the World Series between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, and I watched that. I watched that on New Year's Eve. So that's the extent of my New Year's Eve partying, so to speak. I think those days are long gone. But putting together some things in regards to my channel for future episodes. We're talking probably 2 or 3 more episodes down the road, like the 3rd and 4th week in January. I am compiling my top 61 cards. And I mentioned this last week, I'm going to throw in like some bonus tracks, you know, throw in like 5 cards from this set or 5 cards from that set, just to mix things up. Because it's really easy to throw in, you know, to throw out your best cards. But sometimes, you know, you want to show people other cards. And I know that in putting together my list, which I spent, God, like Friday afternoon on, I spent hours compiling this Excel spreadsheet. And you realize the inventory you have, you realize the collection you have, and you're just like, oh my God. So that would be like, I'll probably go more into this in the next couple of videos. But for those of you who are considering or not considering doing a top 25 or a top 50 video, I would say to do it because it puts some perspective. You know, you look at your collection and you see how far you've come since you started collecting, or since you were a kid, or even just the last year. So like I said, I'll be putting those videos out the last couple of weeks of January. There'll be a 2-part video. Since I didn't make a video last week in December, I wanted to make the focus of my conversation a couple of birthdays from 2025 that I did not get to acknowledge because they happened the last week of the year. 2 very important people. One of them I have known every day of my life. The second one I have known every day of my baseball life. The person I've known every day of my life is my mother. She turned 91 on December 22nd. We went to the Nutcracker. I don't know if any of you have ever been to the Nutcracker before. I'll be honest, I've been to a lot of Broadway musicals. I've been to lots of plays. And my sister got us tickets for the Nutcracker. And after a minute or two of just hearing the music and seeing the ballet, you know, the ballerinas, I was kind of like in my head going, are they going to start singing soon? Is there going to be any dialogue? And I realized, no, we're going to listen to music and have people perform in front of us. And it actually turned out to be really fun. And the best part of it was my mother-in-law was humming along, or my mother was humming along with the songs, and she really got into it. So that was really fun. But yeah, my mom's turning 91. And I think I'm acknowledging it because I'm going to be honest with you guys, this might be the last one. We'll see. We've seen some changes. Mom has Alzheimer's, for those of you that don't know. We're seeing some drastic changes the last few weeks. So if I disappear for a few weeks, you'll know something happened. But happy birthday to my mom. I love you. I know you're not watching. Maybe someday I'll make you watch this. Maybe you'll see it somewhere else. The second person who I wanted to acknowledge I've only met once. I've seen him on TV a lot. I've seen him on film a lot. I buy his baseball cards. And that's Mr. Sandy Koufax, who turned 90 on December 30th. And growing up in Los Angeles, I was 6 when I started watching baseball. That was 1971. Koufax was long gone by then. But even at 6 years old, I knew who Sandy Koufax was. And even at 6 years old, I knew he was a legend. I don't know if it's because back then the reruns of Dennis the Menace and Mr. Ed were still being shown at that point. I saw Sandy Koufax on TV. I was still getting my early baseball books had photos of Sandy Koufax, and for some reason, I knew he was a great player. And one of the things I will always say about Sandy Koufax, I remember I tweeted this years ago, and for me it still holds true. He is the greatest player I've ever seen. And I never saw him play. But for me, he is the greatest baseball pitcher I have ever seen. It's just a legend that grows as I get older. You know, I grew up with the 4 no-hitters and the 382 strikeouts, one perfect game. He skipped, or he didn't pitch in the 1965 World Series Game 1 because it fell on Yom Kippur. I heard stories about what a nice guy he was. And as I got a little older, I learned that women thought he was sexy. And I met him once, and I've told you guys about that. And he couldn't have been a nicer human being, which is probably why I still worship the man today. And as of as of October, he was still hanging out at Dodger Stadium. He was at the World Series cheering on the Dodgers, cheering on Clayton Kershaw. And this man still gets standing ovations at Dodger Stadium, as he should. He's still extremely popular. And bringing my mom back into this, the one interaction that Sandy Koufax and my mother had, I want to say was 2007. That would have been the 50th anniversary of the Dodgers moving to Los Angeles. Dodgers had a big ceremony on opening day, of which I had tickets for. And the Dodgers were owned by these owners who I don't use their names, and I still won't because I can't stand them. They're no longer around, or they're no longer around my world. But they had this thing about wanting pageantry on opening day. And they invited back as many great Dodgers as they could. And they put on this music, and they came out at the beginning. Duke Snider was the first one that came out. Duke Snider came out in a walker, and which has relevance for me now because I literally bought a walker today for my mother. Duke goes out to center field with his walker, and one by one, not necessarily great Dodgers, but Dodgers who just played throughout the eras, just came out of the left field bullpen, the right field bullpen, and center field, the dugouts, and you just sat there going, wow, amazing. And as we slowly built up, the names got bigger and bigger, and somewhere third or fourth to the end, Tommy Lasorda came out of the dugout. Everybody started screaming. And then Fernando came out. Fernando's huge out here. God rest his soul. And Fernando came out, and people were screaming. And then all of a sudden, the scoreboard went dark. And we're like going, is that it? Are they done? Is Mike Piazza going to come out? Because he didn't like us by that point. We were like, who else? And all of a sudden, you see on the black diamond division, it says Sandy Koufax. All of a sudden, here comes Sandy Koufax out of the dugout, black sport coat, blue jeans, sunglasses, just looking extremely cool. And the place just started screaming. I took my mother to the opening day that year. I took my mom, and she's like, oh my God, it's Sandy Koufax. And I remember thinking, wow, you know who Sandy Koufax is? And she was screaming and applauding. One day I'm going to have to make a video about my mother at baseball games, because when I took her to baseball games, she became a completely different human being. And that day, she's just started screaming like everyone else that Sandy Koufax was out there. And Sandy came out and everybody was just hooting and hollering. And he made an agreement. The Dodgers wanted him to throw the first pitch. And I think he said, I'll do it, but we have to have some other guys throw the first pitch with him. I'm going to get the names wrong here because 3 or 4 guys helped him throw out the first pitch. It was Koufax, I think Don Newcomb, Carl Erskine, someone else. I think 3 or 4 guys threw first pitches to catchers that day. But it was phenomenal. That was a connection that my mother had with Sandy Koufax. And for me, looking back on it, seeing that they're 1 year apart, just a good connection between the 3 of them. Or the 2 people who are very important to me. Obviously, my mother is, and even Sandy Koufax is, because like I said, I was a starstruck child who just for some reason worshipped this man, and to this day I still don't know why. At 6 years old, I was just mesmerized by this guy. And now, somebody brings up Sandy Koufax, or he's at a dot. The last Dodger game I went to, he was there, and he was just like, oh my God, there's Sandy Koufax, and on top of him being a wonderful guy, when I met him at the National, like in 1996, somewhere around there, just great memories. So happy birthday, Mom. Happy birthday, Sandy Koufax. 91 years old, Mom. 90 years old, Sandy. I hope you guys have a couple more. And yeah, let's see. All right, what are we going to do? I'm going to show you some cards today from the 1940s, the decade of the 40s. I'm going to pick 6 or 7 cards that I just want to show off. They might not be the best cards. They might be really good cards, but they're just cards that I wanted to talk about the player. So let's get busy. Let's turn around. Let's take a look at some baseball cards, you guys. So let's show some cards from the 1940s. I think I got 6 or 7 to show, and maybe I'll tell you little stories about some of these guys. First card here is 1940 play ball, and that's Schoolboy Hoyt. He was a 2-time 20-game winner and a 3-time World Series champion with the New York Yankees. Now, he was signed by the New York Giants at the age of 15 years old, and because of this, he was immediately nicknamed the Schoolboy Wonder. But he also had a couple of other nicknames. He was also known as the Merry Mortician, for when he was not playing baseball. He spent days working as a funeral director, and at night he would also work in vaudeville. So that is Schoolboy Hoyt from the 1940 set, 1940 play ball. I bought this card just because it's technically, TCDB considers this a Dodger card, even though he was not on the Dodgers in 1940. But this photo was taken when he played for the Dodgers, according to somebody on Twitter who got this thing added to TCDB. All right, so now we're going to move up to 1941, and I picked this card purely on aesthetics. This is the 1941 play ball Lou Finney, and he played 15 seasons in the MLB, primarily with the Philadelphia Athletics, and also with the Red Sox, where this photo was taken from, or this picture. And he made the American League All-Star team in 1940. And one of the reasons I picked this card, honestly, was because I've shown you, I didn't want to show any huge Hall of Famers that I've shown you before from this set, or cards that I really loved, like the Charlie Gehringer or the Bobby Doerr. But I thought this card still had a nice background and was just a good one to show off. And sometimes I just want to show cards that I don't show too often. So here's my opportunity to show off Lou Finney. Now I've got one more card from the 1941 play ball set, and that's one of the first ones I bought, purely because this guy was a Dodger, Dolph Camilli, but also because he was the National League's most valuable player in 1941. And he led the Dodgers to the pennant for the first time in 21 years. Since 1920, the Dodgers went to the World Series in 1941. And that year, Camilli led the National League with career highs of 34 home runs and 120 RBIs. But also, absolutely, I love this card. I just love the pose, love the background. And it was, like I said, it was one of the first play ball cards I own because the first play ball cards I bought were all Dodger cards. And this might have been the first card, I'm not sure, that I bought of the 5. But this is Dolph Camilli. All right. Well, we got into World War II, and we didn't see any baseball cards for a very long time. But finally, in 1948, Bowman released their first release. And because of that, we got to see the 1948 Bowman Allie Reynolds. A lot of you know him, the Chief, 5-time All-Star, 6-time world champion with the Yankees. He won 20 games in 1952. And he started his career with the Cleveland Indians. But Cleveland manager, and I believe he was also the GM, Lou Boudreau, really needed a second baseman. And he liked Joe Gordon. And he approached Larry MacPhail, the Yankee GM at that time. He said, you could take any one of my pitchers for Joe Gordon, except for Bob Feller. So MacPhail had already picked someone out, but he first wanted to talk to Joe DiMaggio about it. And Joe DiMaggio immediately said, take Reynolds. I'm a fastball hitter, but he can buzz his hard one by me anytime he has a mind to. So that is how the Yankees ended up with Allie Reynolds, which was a good trade for both teams. We're going to talk about that trade a little bit more here in a couple of minutes. But next, we're going to finally move up into 1949, as we've got a couple of cards to the 1949 Bowman set. And the first one I'm going to show you is Mr. Robin Roberts, his rookie card. And he was a 7-time All-Star, 6-time 20-game winner, 6 seasons in a row with the Phillies. And one of the most memorable highlights of his career occurred on May 13th, 1954, when Roberts gave up a leadoff home run to Bobby Adams of the Cincinnati Reds, but then went on to retire 27 consecutive batters to win 8-1, one-hit game. 27 consecutive batters. I've never heard of that with a guy not getting a no-hitter. Roberts played many years for the Phillies, traded him to the Yankees, where he did not end up pitching in a regular season game, but eventually ended up in Baltimore. And in Roberts' final year in Baltimore, he was the first road roommate and mentor to Jim Palmer. And he made his major league debut in relief of Roberts in the 3rd inning of a 12-9 loss to the Red Sox in Fenway in April of 1965. Jim Palmer said 47 years later, Robin Roberts helped teach me even though he knew I was probably going to take his job. And that is Robin Roberts. This is a great card. I've got this card of his. I got the 1950 Bowman. Oh, I've got his 1957 Topps. This one is my favorite. It's just a great looking card. That's Robin Roberts. Sticking with 1949, Enos Slaughter of the St. Louis Cardinals in his 1949 Bowman card. 10-time All-Star, 4-time World Series champ with the Cardinals and the Yankees. Slaughter's number 9 was retired by the Cardinals in 1996. And he was also elected into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 1985. Love that blue background, those uniforms that the Cardinals had back then. 49 Bowman, I say this every time I think I show a card because I don't have too many of them. Did not like this set when I first started collecting vintage. And now I think it's just a beautiful set. Love the cards. Wish I could build that set, but it's just way too hard. So I'm not even going to go there. Now, I mentioned this guy in a previous trade. Our last card for the night is Joe Gordon. He was mentioned earlier as a trade. He was traded from the Yankees to the Indians for Allie Reynolds. But here he appears in his 1949 Leaf card on the Indians. And as a rookie second baseman in 1938 with the Yankees, Gordon set a new record for home runs in a season for a second baseman with 25. He beat Charlie Gehringer's record of 19. One of my favorite stories, though, was he played a major role in befriending teammate Larry Doby, the American League's first black player, who had been a second baseman in the Negro Leagues, but became a center fielder with Cleveland. During Dobie's first 2 seasons, Gordon became close to the player who was theoretically there to replace him. And Dobie would later refer to him as his first friend in white baseball. Gordon was inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame in 2009. And one interesting thought, and I need to look up this article. In April 2010, the Wall Street Journal sports writer Russell Adams wrote a piece titled, "Who is the Greatest Yankee?" Adams ranked Gordon as the 9th greatest Yankee position player in franchise history. Gordon's strength was defense. His range was the best of any of the 30 candidates we studied. So that is Joe Gordon. And that's to take a look at some of my cards from the 1940s. Don't have many cards because there weren't many cards produced. But if you stuck around this long, thanks so much for hanging out. We'll talk to you next time. Take care.
It's a beautiful day for